Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good, Maniac Mafia? Yo, we got the 9 lives of Robert Downey Jr. by Patrick CC. Yo, we have not watched the Patrick CC reaction in a minute, bro. Like, honestly. But I miss my son, Patrick CC, bro. I know we all love Iron Man / Robert Downey Jr. for me, but gangster, it's Iron Man and future Dr. Doom. You feel me? So let's get to it, child. Let's see how Hollywood tried to destroy my nigga Robert Downey Jr. You feel me? Because gangster, my son's still kicking and breathing today, so I want to see how they tried to fumble the bag with my son, bro.
But Robert Downey Jr.
Come
came
on
to the
now.
industry with his own set of demons. His father introduced him to substances at just 6 years old, and he spent the first half of his career trying to convince himself he wasn't addicted, but he couldn't even show up to a simple interview while sober.
And they wound up cutting me out of the film. And all my friends harped in, maybe it's you, maybe it's you. Humility, got it, right here. Signed, sealed, delivered. Up yours.
You know what's funny? I've never seen a young Robert Downey Jr. and no funny shit. He looks like Johnny Depp's son. Is there a fucking conspiracy theory that he's Johnny Depp's son? Because honestly, he looks like a really young Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Robert would eventually lose control, spiraling so far that he ended up in federal prison. But even prison could not fix him.
What?
And when RDJ stepped back into the world, he was faced with a reality he'd been avoiding his entire life. Keep numbing himself until it killed him, or confront the toxic lifestyle that Hollywood had been enabling since he was a child. And his decisions, along with a little help from another troubled actor, led him down a path no one expected him to survive. Robert was set up for failure at age 6 when his father handed him some grass to smoke, something Robert's father deeply regrets to this day.
Your dad gave you weed at the age of 6? Well, for informational purposes, Chad, most teenagers start smoking weed at the age of fucking youngest, I would say like 8, which is really, really fucking terrible. But I started at 13. You feel me? Hey, it is what it is. But really, most motherfuckers don't start till like high school, which is like 17, 18. The fact that this nigga started smoking weed at 6, that gotta be a world fucking record.
A lot of us did things and thought it would be hypocritical to not have our kids participate in marijuana and stuff like that, so we thought it was cute to let them smoke it and all that. It was an idiot move on our part.
By age 8, RDJ was abusing alcohol, only to start experimenting with narcotics as a young teen. By then, both Robert Downey Jr. and Sr. had become codependent addicts. He said, "There was always a lot of pot and coke around. When my dad and I would do drugs together, it was like him trying to express his love for me in the only way he knew how."
That don't make sense.
Of course, this created a horrible foundation for the young actor, but he had no way of escaping it because his dad was a small-time director in New York City, and RDJ didn't see any other life other than being an actor.
I don't know if I ever really had that thought that this is what I'm going to do. It never occurred to me to do anything else, and it just kind of, life happens.
But make no mistake, Robert Downey Jr. is far from a nepo baby. If you weren't a film buff in the 70s, odds are you wouldn't have heard of any of his father's films. He was known for obscure and experimental films, gaining a reputation for hiring people off the street instead of holding auditions. But status didn't mean anything to a young RDJ. He admired his father's dedication to his craft.
Well, I remember, him being a writer and a director. I remember when I was 8 years old, I was in a movie of his, but it seemed kind of natural to me, like, well, this is just what I'm doing. Daddy's making this, and I'm doing it too, I guess so. I mean, I really admire my father, and it seemed like he had a really good time and really got to communicate to a lot of people his kind of ideas, wacky or not,
Unfortunately, as a teenager
respect somebody that stick to what they believe in, bro.
Had the mindset that he could get drunk and high as much as he wanted, as long as he was able to do his job on set. He said, "I took my drugs after work and on the weekends. Maybe I'd turn up hungover on the set, but no more so than the stuntman." He was essentially developing the lifestyle of a functioning addict. But whenever Downey started to be recognized for his talent, the money and fame allowed him to feed this empty space inside his soul. Robert didn't know it yet, but success in the industry would lose the control he thought he had.
I know when motherfuckers be smiling in their mugshot, when the judge see this shit, I know they just be thinking about giving you the highest sentence imaginable. So for all black men out here that think it's cool because they see Dirk or whoever fucking doing this shit, King Von, whatever, please stop smiling in your mugshots. It's not helping you.
had over his addiction. But before we dive deeper, as I've gotten older, I sometimes think it's time to start taking my own health a little more seriously. I have a handful of different symptoms that I try to self-diagnose online instead of doing the right thing and going to a professional. That's why I was so relieved when I found today's video sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free
no ads.
In the 1980s, Robert Downey Jr. was acting alongside the Hollywood powerhouse known as the Brat Pack, which had massive stars like Molly Ringwald, Judd Nelson, Emilio Estevez, Robert Lowe, Andrew McCarthy, Anthony Michael Hall, and Demi Moore.
I don't know who any of those people are.
While this gave him a lot of opportunities to be on screen, securing roles in weird science and
I've only never heard of half of those
almost all of
motherfuckers,
the
I swear to
films he
God.
acted in were considered duds, like he was carrying some kind of curse.
Didn't seem to get a lot of great response, at the box office, but I really enjoyed it. Now,
What, like all the other blockbusters I've been in? What are you talking about? I'm like the nosedive king for films.
Okay.
Robert, we'd like to have it in our film, but you jinxed the whole damn effort.
He had gotten good reviews in mostly bad
Niggas
films,
calling you a
which had
jinx, that
critics
really ain't a
feeling
good
like
sign.
he was a star waiting to be born. And in an unexpected twist of fate, his connection to the Brat Pack actually landed him a job as an on-screen cast member for Saturday Night Live.
Do you remember the audition?
Yeah, I did some really dumb stuff. I pulled my shirt over my head and did some sort of like bodega running character. I did another guy, a British guy, who all he wanted to do was put a piece of tape on your head. It was really weird, super avant-garde stuff.
Getting a job on SNL used to be a springboard to
I mean,
launching
look at
a
the movies his
comedian's
dad
career,
made.
but
Honestly, I wouldn't
RDJ
expect
wasn't
nothing
an
less.
inspiring comedian. Therefore, his performance on the show was bad.
I know why whales beach themselves. Spider-Man told me!
Oh, God, that was horrible.
Life is an emergency, and my books are overdue. No thanks to you!
Young Robert Downey
People are
Jr.
laughing.
is
What was
living
that?
proof that cocaine is a hell of a drug. Rolling Stone would go on to rank RDJ as the worst cast member in SNL history. Luckily, the big break Robert needed was actually just right around the corner, when he got a role in Less Than Zero, a movie about a college freshman named Clay, played by Andrew McCarthy, returning home to see his hometown completely different from how he left it. Downey plays his ex-girlfriend's drug.
Is it me or did everybody do this fucking hairstyle because of Charlie Sheen, bro? I'm not bugging. Did everybody want to be Charlie Sheen back in the fucking day? Like, what the hell?
Drug supplier and lover, Julian. Downey's character was a complete mess. He loses a gig with a record label, his connection to his family, and spirals into crack addiction to the point where he sells his body just to get high. And while this might sound like an exciting role in the 2020s, playing a crazed addict that turns to prostitution in a 1980s movie was a huge risk for a new actor. But RDJ didn't seem to care. He said, "No one likes touching those weird subjects, and I think those are the kinds of roles that I want to do. I thought I might have a good shot at getting the part because I really couldn't see many of my peers being able to handle playing a I was so effing happy I got cast. I think a lot of actors were turned off to it because
that's why we
Julian
love
has,
Robert Downey Jr., let's be
bisexual
honest.
encounters, but you can't be paranoid about what people are going to think. I
Facts.
was playing someone who drove a $60,000 Avanti to school every morning and was strung out on crack. However, acting in these party films wasn't great for controlling his vices. He was gaining an offset reputation for being a bit of a troublemaker. Members of the cast and crew gossiped that the movie's director told Robert and Andrew to go out partying to understand their characters, only for Robert Downey Jr. to run off drunk. He was allegedly found by police howling at the moon and brought to jail, where McCarthy had to bail him out hours later. Even Robert admitted, "I did Less Than Zero with a director who understood what I didn't, which is, we're doing something incredibly artistic. This guy is a mess and probably going to get worse, but he's not as bad as the character he's playing." And that director was right, because RDJ would continue to skyrocket into fame, which meant more money and more access to drugs. Robert Downey Jr. had finally broken away from the Brat Pack in the late 80s, acting in experimental films like 1969, That's Adequate, True Believer, and Air America, a Vietnam action comedy alongside Mel Gibson. This film got Robert a massive marketing boost across national television and radio shows, nudging him closer to A-list fame. It's also where he developed a friendship with an actor who would later save his
Mel
life.
Gibson.
Ironically though, the film that took him to the next level was
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's
What the fuck? Listen, bro, I can't even say Robert because I don't even know this nigga. Let's just say Iron Man. You're Iron Man. What the fuck was you thinking, bro? There's a risk, and then there's, you feel me? What the fuck?
Another flop, where he got to act as the silent movie legend Charlie Chaplin.
Just about every day there would be something fun, a chicken outfit, or
All right, I forgot Charlie Chaplin did have that type of
a
mustache, but
cool hat, or riding horses with Fairbanks.
I don't think nobody's thinking of that Charlie Chaplin when we see that mustache no more, bro. Let's be honest.
Chaplin didn't even make $10 million at the box office, but it's a cult classic for the fans that did tune in. Plus, it was also the role that gave Robert an Oscar nomination, which finally put him ahead of his peers as an established actor. But what made fans love Downey even more was when he stepped outside of his comfort zone with the documentary titled The Last Party. A camera crew followed him as he made fun of political conventions and how a large part of American society is motivated by wealth and power more so than helping their fellow man. The most notable moment of the doc was when Downey went down into the pit to observe the New York Stock Exchange.
If money is evil, then that building is hell. This is the most obnoxious group of money-hungry, low IQ, high-energy, jackrabbit, wannabe, big-time,
Why is the camera down here?
Talking, bothersome, irritating bunch of motherfuckers I have ever had to endure for more than 5 minutes.
He is spot on, and things haven't changed. Now, to the public, RDJ seemed to be peaking in life, ascending through the Hollywood ranks, acting in much bigger movies with massive stars like Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers, Only You, and Richard III with Sir Ian McKellen. But behind the scenes, his personal life was finally starting to take a serious dive. His longtime girlfriend, Sarah Jessica Parker, had broken up with him after several warnings about his usage. Downey had originally thought that he was able to balance his professional life and dependence on cocaine, but his drug habits got so bad that Hollywood tried to kick him out of the industry for good, leaving him homeless and totally alone. In 1995, Robert Downey Jr. was working on the film Home for the Holidays. It was a dramedy where he played a character named Tommy Larson, who is the black sheep of the family. However, if you asked Downey, he wouldn't be able to remember he was working on a movie at all. Wasn't enough for him anymore, and he had moved on to using straight up heroin.
Oh my God! Yeah, he's a fall down drunk, but he's always at work at 8 a.m. It's like, yo, but that's kind of missing something. He's great with the kids. Don't let him drive.
How could you do that? Or was that a standard for yourself? You say, well, look, I may be smoking black tar, but I'm going to show up on time.
That's not entirely true, because I could be found in the trailer like, what are you doing, Robert? We're 5 minutes away. And I'd be like, I'm building a space shuttle out of, toothpicks. Whatever. I mean, I was a little, my behavior was a little aberrant.
And while Downey was still able to technically do his job, actress Jodie Foster knew he was losing control. Jodie told the Huffington Post she had to pull RDJ aside at one point in the middle of a shoot and have a very serious conversation with him. And I said, so far you are on a bar stool, and you have managed to not fall off the bar stool. It's possible that you're going to find a way to prop yourself up, whatever toothpicks it takes to prop yourself up, but I'm afraid for you. And now may not be the time, but I am afraid for you. Foster clearly understood that Robert was playing a game that only ended in tragedy, but unfortunately, he wasn't at a point where he was willing to listen. He had received several interventions, followed by rehab, but the recovery never lasted long. In 1996, Sean Penn and Dennis Quaid actually kicked his door down before dragging him to a long-term abuse facility.
What he did was he kicked my door down. The door flies off the
W
hinges, and there's
friends,
Sean
bro.
Penn in that
If you got
leather
friends
jacket,
that really care about you, they're gonna do what they gotta do to get you
Now,
help.
at the time, Robert looked at all of his antics and addictions as a big joke, like how he recalled playing ping pong with Tom Cruise and drunkenly scared him to death.
One of the first times I met Tom Cruise, we were at my friend's house, and we were playing ping pong, right? He's like, let's do something competitive. Playing ping pong with him, and I'm ecstatic because he's clearly wiped me out 21-4. Yeah. But then I jumped the net. I splintered this thing into about 6,000 pieces, clearly hammered.
What did Tom do?
He was just feeling fear and sadness, I think.
He's rocking the jaw. He had a real problem. Glad he put all that behind him. Now, up until this point, Robert Downey Jr. was able to use his humor and charisma to make the audience love him. He was far from the only person in Hollywood doing drugs or jumping on tables. But the public's opinion of him started to drastically change after a major arrest. He was caught speeding past sheriff's deputies on the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, California. When police finally caught up with him, they found coke, black tar, and an unloaded .357 Magnum revolver hidden in his pickup truck.
What the fuck? This nigga's driving down the street with it. Cocaine, heroin, and a fucking Magnum. What was your plans, bro?
But it gets worse. Just hours after being charged, he continued to take more.
What? What?
He got so high that he mistook a neighbor's house for his own. When the homeowners, Bill and Lisa Curtis, arrived at the house, they found pants neatly laid over a chair, only to find Robert Downey Jr. tucked away in an empty bed. Surprisingly, Lisa tried to explain to the press that they just feared for his safety. He was sitting up, groggy, looking very white and gaunt. At no time was he doing anything the least bit threatening. After calling the police, Downey was revived by paramedics. And even at this low point, the Curtis family said that he made sure to make the revived by paramedics.
Revived? That means that this nigga fucking die and they had to bring this nigga back?
Yeah.
Yo, bro.
And even at this low point, the Curtis family said that he made sure to make the children laugh so that they weren't scared, making funny faces to distract them from a serious arrest. While Downey got off with probation and a slap on the wrist, this image of him in a courtroom severely damaged his career, and he was back to acting in smaller films like Danger Zone, Two Girls and a Guy, and Hugo Pool, a low-budget film directed by his father who had since become sober. RDJ did have a memorable spot in the lawyer sitcom Ally McBeal, but even his brief stint in television wasn't meant to last. In 1999, Downey found himself in court after multiple parole violations, and Malibu Superior Court Judge Lawrence J. Mira told him he was manipulative and had exhausted the court's options for drug rehabilitation and the court's patience, and sentenced the actor to 3 years in prison for repeatedly violating probation on drug and weapons charges.
It was bound to happen eventually, I'm not even gonna lie.
RDJ, prison was absolute hell, but he still managed to find humor in an environment where he was always in danger.
2 weeks later, I'm in a place called Delano, which is a receiving center where they decide where you're going to go. Arguably the most dangerous place I've ever been in my life because nobody is designated if they're a level 1, 2, 3, or 4
Everyone's there.
criminal. Yes. And you could just feel the evil in the air. And that was no trouble at all because it was kind of like just being in a really bad neighborhood. And there was no opportunity there. There was only threats. Yes, everyone is going to take your wallet, so watch it. And I remember walking out when I popped out of my cell to go to the shower. I didn't know it, but I was a little spun out and I had my underwear on backwards that put the entry area.
It's an invitation, really. You
Yes,
warm as an
and
invitation.
I remember eliciting
It's a little dangerous,
some
bro.
strong chuckles and jeers from my fellow inmates.
Ultimately, Downey only spent 15 months in prison. The only thing that saved him from serving a full sentence was a legal technicality that said the judge failed to fully outline the nature of time served. But sadly, his experience with being fearful every day in prison did not keep him from being found in the middle of a relapse. 4 months later in Palm Springs, he was caught with Valium and coke.
Nigga. You get lucky and they let you go because of a technicality. And you go again?
He was fired from the cast of Ally McBeal and was officially blacklisted from major studios. It appeared to be the final nail in the coffin of Robert Downey Jr.'s career. When asked about his success on the show and the loss, Downey said, "For some people, that's the litmus. Will he ever be as good again as he was on Ally McBeal? I'm probably not the best person to ask about that period. It was my lowest point in terms of addictions. At that stage, I didn't give a F whether I ever acted again." With so many arrests and a mountain of legal fees, Robert Downey Jr. Jr. was seen as a train wreck to agents and a complete liability. Many people don't know this part of the industry, but most actors in major films and TV shows have to be insured for possible accidents. One agency that actually once represented Robert told the press, "Yes, this can seriously damage your future in this town. There's too much young talent on the rise, too much competition. Nobody wants someone that's high maintenance, and it can be a detriment at his age. Due to his drug abuse, it was impossible to find a company that would insure him. And because he couldn't get insured, that meant that he couldn't work. And since he couldn't work, that meant he couldn't pay his legal bills, which led to him actually losing his home. And at this point, it looked like the once Oscar-nominated actor was going to fade away from Hollywood completely. But at his lowest moment, there was one actor who reached down to offer Robert some help. And that man was Mel Gibson. Mel was also frequently entrenched in controversy due to him succumbing to his addictions, so they shared that experience. And Robert eventually came forward and shared the truth about how he miraculously saved his life.
I asked Mel to present this award to me for a reason, because when I couldn't get sober, he told me not to give up hope, and he urged me to find my faith. Didn't have to be his or anyone else's as long as it was rooted in forgiveness. And I couldn't get hired, so he cast me in the lead of a movie that was actually developed for him, and he kept a roof over my head, and he kept food on the table, and most importantly, he said that if I accepted responsibility for my wrongdoings, and if I embraced that part of my soul that was ugly, hugging the cactus, he calls it, he said that if I hugged the cactus long enough, I'd become a man of some humility, and that my life would take on a new meaning. And I did, and it worked. All he asked was that someday I help the next guy.
Mel later told the press that Robert thanking him at this award show was during one of Mel's lowest moments.
We wouldn't have Iron Man if it wasn't for Mel Gibson.
Situation where it kind of ended my career. Mel said, "I was drunk in the back of a police car and I said some stupid stuff, and all of a sudden, blacklisted. I'm the poster boy for canceled. A couple of years into that, he invited me to some kind of award he was getting. We always had this kind of seesaw thing, where if he was on the wagon, I was falling off, and if I was on the wagon, he was falling off. So I was pretty much non-existent in Hollywood at the time, and he stood up and spoke for me. It was a bold and generous and kind gesture. I loved him for that." And whatever you think about Mel Gibson, he did turn out to be a selfless friend. He went above and beyond for someone who was essentially just a coworker at the time. Aside from putting a roof over Robert's head and keeping him safe, Gibson also personally put his money on the line to ensure RDJ for the film The Singing Detective, when nobody else would. Robert said, "I was never being flippant when I used to say that I didn't need an acting career. When I said it, it was like saying to someone you love, I don't need you, you never loved me anyway, and you're just a twisted bitch." It's a form of creative misogyny. I feel differently now. For a long time, I needed to make a movie that edged Chaplin. With The Singing Detective, I think I've finally edged it. It's made me realize that I have too much to lose to f up again and go back to the mess that I was. Robert clearly recognized that he had way too much potential to waste and that this was his final chance in Hollywood, so he needed to stay clean. He also started dating a woman named Susan Levin on the set of an earlier movie called Gothica. 2 years later, they got married. According to Susan, none of this would have really worked if he had been going down the same path just a few years before they started going out. She said, also, the nigga was on heroin. What the fuck? He was clean and sober, completely professional when he was working, and then in the off hours, he was just a fun guy. More than anything, I never doubted it. There was something in my gut that knew really quickly. I knew 3 months in that this was it. The only condition that Susan had for their new marriage was that Robert could never go back to the way things were. If she ever found him with a hard drug in his possession, she would leave him and never come back. And this really seemed to put Downey in his place. It was the moment that he decided to never touch alcohol or drugs ever again. But he had almost completely destroyed his reputation in Hollywood, so they didn't just automatically forgive him. Downey was now fighting an uphill battle. He needed to prove he could stay clean, stay married, and find work. And by doing that, he would eventually get the role that changed his career
I knew we was all waiting for this.
In 2006, Marvel was still looking for talent that would bring their live-action franchise to the next level. Spider-Man was a hit, but the first Incredible Hulk was scaring away investors due to production nightmares and clashes with actors and screenwriters. Nothing seemed to be going right for the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU. For their next upcoming film, the company wanted to introduce Iron Man, a comic book series following billionaire Tony Stark, who gets humbled after being kidnapped by terrorists causing him to invent a mechanical suit that allows him to save the world. The problem was that the personality of Tony Stark had to be larger than life. He had to be funny and charismatic, but there also needed to be a relatable underlying sense of pain and dread from a troubled past. The decision of who would get the lead role lied in the hands of director Jon Favreau.
Most people never heard of Iron Man, most of the population. With a movie like this, you got to sell tickets to everybody. So the trick was, how do you stay very true to the books and to the fans and the expectations of the fans?
And the competition for candidates to play Iron Man was absolutely nuts. Nicolas Cage, Tom Cruise, Rob Lowe, Leonardo DiCaprio, Hugh Jackman, Clive Owen, Timothy Olyphant, and Sam Rockwell were
damn,
all
I ain't gonna lie, that's some A-list fucking talent right there, bro.
But the director felt like the perfect person for the role was none other than Robert Downey Jr.
And I think by casting Robert Downey Jr., the comic book fans say, great, oh my God, that's perfectly Tony Stark. What's great for people who aren't fans is they see Robert, they bring a set of expectations to the movie based on who he is and what his whole history has been and his level of talent, his sense of humor, and they then immediately understand what Tony Stark is about.
Almost immediately after suggesting RDJ, there was serious pushback. Entertainment executive Dave Meisel said, "My board thought I was crazy to put the future of the company in the hands of an addict. I helped them understand how great he was for the role. We all had confidence that he was clean and would stay clean." Luckily for everyone involved, Downey didn't just stay clean.
And the fucking movie ended up being a goddamn banger, nigga.
Ever. 2008's Iron Man ended up earning almost $600 million worldwide with a $140 million budget. It's one of those rare movies where critics and fans absolutely love it, and many consider it to be the top 5 best Marvel films of all time.
It is.
But looking back,
100%.
this wasn't much of a surprise.
Nigga, if not top
Robert
2.
might not have been a scientific genius with an engineering background, but he had the spirit of the character. Downey had spent a large part of his life being pretty arrogant and believing he was invincible, only to be humbled when his life was on the verge of total destruction. And just like Tony Stark, he was open to accepting a bigger purpose in life by putting others ahead of himself. Not only did he perfectly embody a real-life Tony Stark, but everything about the movie felt like it was carefully tailored just for the fans.
You are Tony Stark. I mean, it's, in my mind, there's nobody else.
Well, I mean, getting the part is one thing, and then when John and I rolled up our sleeves and said, okay, moron, now we've got to go make this movie and make it great, and the stuff we did and the amount of days where we realized the scene wasn't going to work and people are like playing soccer on the stage and we're rewriting it and feverishly, it was like we literally were like delivering the baby as we were rolling half the time. And I think that's what separates us from the pack a little bit, is there's such a sense of immediacy and spontaneity in this that I don't know if we'd want to do it the same way again because it was so stressful.
Oh, really?
But oftentimes,
but it worked. Nigga, look at what it did, bro.
Robots characters and giving them names and thinking of things to do because we knew that the world wasn't full enough.
In a matter of months, fans were witnessing the renaissance of Robert Downey Jr. and his career. However, what made this year even crazier is that he chose another role in Ben Stiller's movie Tropic Thunder, which could have easily thrown him out of the industry right as he got back
I don't care what nobody say, his role in
Downey played
Tropic Thunder was
a
fucking
pretentious
hilarious.
Australian actor named Kirk Lazarus, who decides to method act as a black soldier in Vietnam. And it would be risky if his character used a stereotypical voice or gestures, but he actually wears blackface throughout the entirety of the film.
Everybody knows you never go full retard. What do you mean?
This would be a career death sentence today, but even in 2008 it was a massive risk. The craziest part was that Robert didn't get attacked for it much in the press. Most of the anger was directed towards Ben Stiller.
All the heat got deflected to Ben and Simple Jack.
What the fuck
That's
Ben
what people
Stiller
were
do?
pissed off about, and I go, whew, great.
Jamie Foxx even spoke out on JRE about how Robert's role didn't mean any harm and that it was just for entertainment.
It was comedy,
Robert,
bro.
I said, listen, I need you to play a Mexican. He says, here's the deal. Sure. Sure, why not? Sure, of course. But then he texts back and said, I'm nervous to play the Mexican. I said, well, you played the black dude and you killed that. You know, we got to be able to be careful.
Nigga, you played the black nigga. You fucking killed it. Come on.
They actually ended up working on a project together in 2009 called The Soloist, where Downey plays a journalist trying to improve the life of Jamie Foxx's character, a homeless musical genius, in any way he can. And these movies set off a string of hits for RDJ. Sherlock Holmes, Chef, The Judge, and his continued role as Iron Man were massive hits in theaters all over the world. As for Robert's personal life, he had a strong marriage, 2 sons, and a new lease on life. He was able to accept his dark past and move on to better things.
So, were you in jail or prison? I go,
But how long? 16 months. Blah, blah, blah. Do you know the name? Well, the first infraction you had in 1995, I was like, you know what? It's hard for me to hold it because I've been arrested so many times.
But because he was still in Hollywood, there were secretly still some people plotting on his downfall. There was a viral interview in 2015 while Downey was promoting The Avengers, where the interviewer attempted to bring up Robert's past for an emotional response, but he wasn't having any of it.
Let me just ask you a few more questions and you can answer them if you want to and not if you don't want to. You've talked in other interviews again about your relationship with your father and the role of all of that in, you know, the dark periods you entered, taking drugs and drinking and all of that. And I just wondered whether, you know, you think you're free of all of that?
Shut your bitch ass up! His face says, I'm about to smack the shit out this nigga. His face says, yo, bro, you want me to smack the shit out you? Like, no funny shit. And I wouldn't even be mad if this nigga did it, bro, because no funny shit. We would smack the shit out this nigga, because if you see I done did so well to come up out my fucking past, who the fuck are you to judge me or even question me about what the fuck I did, bro? No bullshit. This is exactly what the fuck he thinking, because any grown-ass man will be thinking this, bro. You lucky this nigga didn't get up. You lucky all he did was get up and fucking walk away, because had it been me, shit, I ain't PR trained like this nigga. And Lord knows he had to go through the fucking mileage to get PR trained for shit like this, bro. So props to you, Robert. Sorry, Iron Man, you feel me? Just props to you, bro. Shout out to you for not bugging out for shit like this, because nigga, I would have smacked fire out this nigga.
Or whether that's still something.
I'm sorry, I really don't. What are we doing?
Well, I'm just asking questions, that's all.
Right.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you guys.
Are you? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
Word, nigga, like, nigga, you fine, bro.
You seem okay, it's just getting a little dinosaur in your... No, look, I don't want to do that.
It's honestly a miracle that Robert Downey Jr. survived and thrived in Hollywood. Luckily, he was an incredibly talented actor and had people willing to give him second or third chances, which is why he extends his support onto others who need help today.
I'm one of like 3 people who's the first call for any Hollywood crisis having to do with drugs and alcohol or horrific misbehavior, which is both an honor and it's kind of funny because I did not think I would ever be part of any crisis team on the right side of history.
You take the call?
One must.
Yeah.
His career couldn't have gone any better throughout the 2020s, where he reached another peak for his role in the smash hit Oppenheimer, as he won his first Oscar for Best Supporting
Bro, I wanted to watch
Actor.
that, bro.
I'd like to thank my terrible
I gotta watch
childhood.
that movie.
Even though Robert's childhood is likely what led to him suffering a lifelong addiction, overcoming that brutal upbringing is what made him a Hollywood legend, because being challenged in life is inevitable, but being defeated is optional. This story reminds me a lot of Kurt Angle, who at his lowest was doing 65 pills per day. It's surprising he is even still alive, but check out this video if you want to hear that story.
I ain't gonna lie, Patrick, I might check that out later, you feel me? But I ain't gonna lie, that was a banger reaction, shout you feel me? I appreciate everybody that was here. If you like the video, drop a like, drop a comment, you feel me? Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and click the Twitch link down below to see the reactions live. Twitch Rymaniac Gaming, you know, if you want to come start, type it on Twitch, you feel me? I don't know, maybe if you want to type it and click the link, you know, do both, why not, you feel me? But hey, I'll see y'all in the next one, y'all. I appreciate everybody that was here watching the reaction with your boy. I'll see y'all. Peace.